There are 20 unique bosses in Castle Crashers, and in today's video, I'll be tier listing them. The War Machine is the first boss you encounter in Castle Crashers, and for a first boss, it's okay. The War Machine acts as a basic tutorial for boss fights. It introduces aerial attacks, summoning enemies during the fight, and damage phases. This gameplay style appears in later boss fights, so it's a great introduction to these mechanics. But the fight itself isn't too interesting, and is honestly quite forgettable, at least when you compare it to the next boss fight, D tier. The true first boss of Castle Crashers, the Barbarian Boss, is probably one of the most memorable bosses in the entire game. Maybe due to the fact that it's the last thing you saw during the Castle Crashers beta. The Barbarian Boss is awesome, and I love his design. He has a simple melee attack, which can be blocked, a slam attack, which introduces PP ground strat to the game, and also a long range spike attack. As you lower the health of the boss, two barbarians from the crowd will jump into the fight. Now this could cause problems for newer players, but they do drop guaranteed healing, so it actually could help. On top of enemies joining in, the Barbarian Boss will also do another attack, this time turning around and drinking fuel, I think, which makes him burp fire. What makes this more challenging is the fact that you cannot damage the back of the boss, forcing you to constantly be on the move. On Insane Mode, the Barbarian Boss's speed increases after each of his attacks, making the fight even more challenging. And to top it all off, the Barbarian Boss is one of the best money farms in the game. So this for me makes the Barbarian Boss an S tier.
My name is Gabby, I'm 12 years old, and I'm pregnant as...
For many players, the Troll Mother will be the first roadblock of the run, simply due to the fact that she summons a large amount of enemies. If you don't manage these enemies, or defeat the Troll Mother fast enough, you could very easily get overwhelmed. This is all more apparent on Insane Mode, where the Troll Mother is notorious for ending many players' runs. What makes this boss fight interesting is the fact that the Troll Mother never attacks. But despite all this, I like the Troll Mother boss fight. The Troll Mother unintentionally serves as a great juggling tutorial, since it's the best way of defeating her on Insane Mode. On top of that, this boss fight is a great XP farm, since the trolls will spawn forever as long as the Troll Mother is alive, making the Troll Mother a B tier. Next is the giant troll, who we don't actually fight until the parade level, but we do first meet it during the old mill chase. As the name suggests, the giant troll chases you through an old mill, destroying everything in its path. Now you can't actually damage the troll, but it can damage you, kind of. But we do eventually escape the troll by falling into the river. We later get the chance to fight this boss on the parade level, and this fight is disappointing. The only attack that the giant troll does is a laser beam from its eyes. Sounds intimidating, until you realise that you can block it. During the entire fight, there is a thief on the carriage with you. This thief ends up being the biggest threat of the whole boss fight, since the way you defeat the troll is by jumping at it and meleeing, allowing you to do constant uninterrupted damage. F tier. Catfish. So there's a new secret level, Spawn of the Most Cursed Donation Sound. Following the theme of tutorials, the Catfish is basically the blocking tutorial, since 99% of attacks can be blocked. Catfish is quite unique, since it has a massive damage resistance. This makes doing any attacks pointless. To remove this resistance, you need to destroy the herbal Catfish coughs up. This allows the king's ship to stun the Catfish, giving you a short window of damage. But this damage resistance can be quite useful. Characters such as Fencer and Industrialist can use this resistance to farm XP, making a great early game XP farm. S tier. Next is the bear boss, if you can even call him that. So the only difference from the bear boss when compared to the regular bears is the weight, since the bear boss is a medium juggle, and that's all that's different. Yeah, so the hardest thing about this boss fight is honestly Rami, since he knocks you over. But apart from that, the bear boss is the easiest boss in the game. Now I do like this boss because it's always fun to melt him no matter what I'm doing, but as a boss, the bear does suck. F tier. I love Pipistrello. Is the boss fight hard? No. Is the boss fight good? No. Is the entire thing a glitchy mess? Yes. Pipistrello is so easy to break. Simply just standing off center, Pipi will just stare at you, lovingly. You can skip entire mechanics and even defeat Pipi without being hit back. But that's why I love it. It's so funny to me that you can break this fight so easily. Upon defeating Pipi, he farts and deflates into an animal orb, so you and Pipi can truly be together forever. On Insane Mode, Pipi will always do 999 damage, one-shotting most players. I feel like the Behemoth did this since Pipi can normally get one hit off before being broken, so Pipi at least has a chance to win. But the whole thing's a mess, 10 out of 10, S tier. For many players, the Groom will be another roadblock of the run, on Insane Mode anyway. The Groom has many attacks that are all unpredictable. He can throw bombs to knock you out of your shield, he can do a spinning move, slam attacks, stun attacks, you name it. And when the Groom gets below a certain amount of health, he will start throwing out dark magic, because of course he can. And that's not even mentioning his immune phase. So the Groom would occasionally go to his organ and rain bombs on you. And you know what they say, when it rains, it pours. So overall, the Groom is a very difficult fight, and I like that. The only thing I don't like is the fact it's another Conehead, A tier. The Cyclops is honestly a pretty fair fight. There are only two attacks the Cyclops will do, an up close melee attack and a medium ranged throwing attack. The melee attack cannot be blocked, meaning you need to time your attacks between your dodges. And for the throwing attack, you can't really get close to the Cyclops, meaning you need to hold up your shield. When the Cyclops' health gets low enough, he will become enraged. This just speeds up the attacks, forcing you to adjust your timings. And he's even harder on Insane Mode since he gets a speed boost as well. So there's not really much to say about the Cyclops, apart from his death. That's just, yeah. A tier. The Volcano boss sucks. I think even the Behemoth knew this, and that's why there's a much better boss fight right after. But focusing on the Volcano, this boss is a gimmick fight. That means there's only one way to defeat it, that of course by being beefy. To give the Volcano credit, it is a unique fight. That's because it takes 70 hits to beat every time, even on Insane Mode. So it doesn't matter how much strength you have, you will always do the same damage. There are also two fire demons that will always be there. Defeating one will drop a sandwich, so you can always be beefy. So I'm going to give the Volcano a very deserving F tier. The true boss of Lava World, the dragon is better than the Volcano in every way. It breathes fire, throws boulders, PP ground strap. The dragon has it all. The only thing I don't like about the dragon fight is the fire demon. But apart from that, the dragon fight is okay. C tier. So the industrial machine is a weird one for me. On one part, I like how complex the fight is. There are multiple moving parts, different attacks, and of course, the industrial prince. But on the other hand, the fight is very easy. You simply just go from pillar to pillar, swiftly defeating them. I do like how you get to choose the Industrial Prince's fate, but I do wish your choice had an impact on the game. Something as simple as having him at the end party, if you let him live. Which I know might be problematic because, you know, he kidnapped a princess. But I mean, if the Groom and Cyclops are redeemed, I don't see why the Industrial Prince can't be. D tier. The UFOs are pretty basic. They are similar to the Troll Mother since they mostly spawn aliens to attack. But unlike the Troll Mother, they do have one attack, which lets us PP ground strap, so that's some points there. But I don't like how you fight them back to back with zero changes. D tier. F tier. Medusa's honestly a fair fight, since she has a long range, medium range and short range attack. You have to get your timings right in order to do damage and block her attack. She also doesn't stay still, making it quite hard to actually keep hitting and blocking. As you lower Medusa's health, she will start summoning snakes. These travel in a straight line and will knock you over as well as poisoning you if hit. Now you can actually melee these snakes back into Medusa, doing some damage, but at the same time causing some questionable sounds. But overall, I would say that this fight is pretty fair. It's not too hard, but at the same time, you can't just melt her. A tier. The Frost King is not a good fight. Yes, he has a cool design, but the rest sucks. There's the arena, which is entirely made of ice, meaning the whole arena is slippy. This makes getting around a complete nightmare, often failing to line up attacks or just generally being awful. So what's the best thing to pair with a slippery floor? Teleportation. That's right. Whilst you're gliding around like Disney on ice, the Frost King is speed blitzing around the entire map. Luckily, however, the boss only has 2 attacks to begin with, except they both freeze you. And to make things even worse, when you get the boss's health low enough, he will gain a 3rd attack, this time dropping icicles from the ceiling, which track you whilst you're slipping on ice. But no, it's not done here, because they eventually speed up as you lower the boss's health even more. But you don't need to worry about that, since the Frost King has the most health out of any boss in the entire game. So it'll take you a while to even get to this point. F tier.
It must have been something I ate.
The Painter, one of the best bosses in all of the game, which is strange since the guy just appears out of nowhere. The fight starts with the Painter coming down from a lift before he begins to paint. This is the damage phase. The Painter will then go back up the lift, leaving you with his painting. The painting will try and walk into you, since their only form of damage is detonation. But if you have a high enough defense, you can just tank the hit and speed up the fight. Once the painting is destroyed, the Painter will return and repeat the cycle. There are a total of 10 paintings, or 11 on PS3, which all have different designs and stats. As you lower the health of the Painter, he will begin to draw 2 and eventually 3 paintings at once, making it harder to tank all the damage. But once the Painter's health gets low enough, it will initiate phase 2. During this phase, the Painter will permanently stay down, running around the arena while summoning all of his paintings at once. Upon defeating the Painter, he will drop fruit on normal mode or potions for insane mode. And just to make the Painter that little bit better, if you leave the boss room and then re-enter, you can instantly fight the Painter again, making this one of the best money farms in the entire game. So to no one's surprise, the Painter is an easy S tier.
I'll be back.
The Undead Cyclops is almost identical to the original Cyclops boss fight, just with a few differences. So instead of knives, the Undead Cyclops wields a casket, which he uses to melee you. But unlike the knives, this attack can be blocked. After 4 swings, the Cyclops will then shoot fireballs, similar to the throwing knives. But instead of going back to attacking you, the Cyclops will instead open the casket, revealing the Undead Groom. This is an immune phase, so all you can do is avoid both the Cyclops and the Groom. But if you let the Cyclops stomp you, you will get PP ground stratted, meaning you can just wait out this phase, making this fight very easy. B tier. The Necromancer, one of the hardest, if not the hardest boss fight in the entire game. Well, except his minions are. So the Necromancer fight is split in half, 2 waves of enemies and the fight with the Necromancer. The first of the 2 waves is not that bad, and I think most players wouldn't struggle here, but the second wave is something else. So the Necromancer will summon a large group of enemies, consisting of light, medium and heavy juggles, 3 beefies, and of course bomb throwers too. On top of that, all of the enemies have increased health, making this an extremely rough fight. Since the enemies are all different weight classes, getting a consistent juggle is almost impossible. That is of course if you're not getting thrown by a beefy first. But when you do finally defeat all the enemies, you then have to fight the Necromancer himself. Now there are two ways to go about this fight. You can fight the Necromancer one-on-one, having the most intense fight in the game, or you could just juggle him. Yeah, so if you manage to hit the Necromancer as he originally falls into the fight, you are able to juggle him for a very easy kill. But assuming you're a hardcore gamer, the Necromancer fight is great. It truly feels like the final boss of the game. Of course, it isn't, but it really should have been S tier.
God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created.
The evil wizard is the final boss of the game, to which there are 6 phases to fight. The first phase is the crystals, which are not too great. By simply standing at the bottom of the screen, the crystals cannot damage you, making it extremely easy to line them up. And even if you don't do this, they are trivial to avoid. So for the crystals, this is going to be an F tier. For the next phase, the evil wizard will descend and have 2 different shields. One that deflects magic damage and one that deflects melee damage. Now personally, I really don't like this phase. The wizard moves around a lot and uses attacks that knock you over. This for me just slows down the pace of the entire fight, but at the very least, I can recognise that it's unique and forces you to do different damage types. D tier. Next is the wizard's bowl phase. Easy damage, fast paced, D tier. After defeating the bowl, a chest will crush the wizard, but when you open this chest, it's revealed that the evil wizard is not dead. Now I do like this, as it did originally catch me off guard. The evil wizard just looks creepy and awesome, but unfortunately, it's not that fun to fight. Just like the bowl phase, you have to jump up to do damage, but unlike the bowl phase, the evil wizard can actually attack you. The hitbox for this just feels strange, since you have to be quite specific on where you hit, making the fight more awkward if anything. But overall, the fight looks cool and is okay. C tier. Bowl phase. And that brings us onto the final phase. Now this phase has potential to be an amazing boss fight, but every time I do it, the evil wizard just ends up spamming the same move over and over. So there are 3 attacks that the evil wizard can do: a projectile attack, spinning attack, and meteor attack. All of these moves are awesome and can do some serious damage if caught, except the evil wizard just loves to spam his meteors. It does not matter what I do, he's gonna summon them meteors. The only way I can seem to proc the spinning attack is by standing directly in front of him, but even then, that's difficult to do since he moves around so much. But apart from that, I still like this phase. Fighting with the boss that started it all, on a floating temple that's crumbling apart as it falls through the sky. This really does feel like the final boss, but for me at least, it's the mechanics that ruin it. Only being able to damage the wizard whilst he's in the air really takes away the intensity of the fight, unlike the non-stop action that is the Necromancer, who doesn't give you a second to breathe. So with that being said, I'll give the final phase a B tier. And that's my Castle Crashers boss tier list. Now there are definitely a few bosses here who I could see changing around from time to time, but overall I think this is pretty accurate to what I think the bosses are. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.